Today's topic of discussion in a transformer would be per unit calculation. So what is per unit calculation and what is the advantage of per unit calculation that we are going to see. So transformers generally are available of various sizes, rating, voltage ratios, and these various sizes transformer are used in the power system, in the generating station and in the distribution station. So the transformers of various sizes, rating and voltage ratios that are used in power system network at different generating stations and the distribution stations. The parameters of the equivalent circuit of these machines vary over a large range. Since the transformers are of different rating, obviously the equivalent circuit parameters, which are basically the resistance, inductance and the mutual inductance, will vary a lot over a large range. So if the resistance is in ohms, you'll get the inductance in millihenry. So you can see there is a large variation of the resistance and the inductance. The comparison of the machines can be made simpler if all the parameters are normalized. So if we normalize the parameters, then what will happen? The parameters will come to a scale and it will be easy to have a comparison among the different parameters for the different machines. If simple scaling of the parameter is done, then one has to carry forward the scaling factor in the calculation. So if we try to adopt any simple scaling, then there will be a scaling factor and this scaling factor will be carried throughout the calculation, which is not desirable. So expressing in percent basis is one example of scaling. So when you express any parameter, whether it is a resistance or inductance, in percent basis, then it is an example of scaling. However, if the scaling is done on a logical basis, one can have a simple representation of the parameter without the bother of the scaling factor. So we try to obtain a normalization in such a way that the scaling factor need not to be carried forward. Moreover, there should be some logical basis over which this scaling need to be done. Different unit of measurement are used in the different countries. So if we see different countries, so the unit of measurement may vary. So generally you adopt different measurement standard like FPS, CGS system, MKS system and so on, which also undergo several revisions over the years. So over the years, different countries have adopted different method or standard for the measurement. So in order to bring an uniformity, there should be some normalization technique required. If the parameters can be freed from the unit, then the system become very small. So if you have the unit of resistance is ohm, the inductance is in millihenry, and the capacitance, suppose it is in microfarad, and we do some type of normalization and try to free the parameter, means all this resistance, inductance and capacitance become only a number, then it will be free from these parameters. So once it is free from the parameters, we need not to carry 10 to the power 3 or 10 to the power minus 6 this term, and it will be only a number without having any unit. So whether we are following an MK system, whether we are following any CGS system, it doesn't matter a lot. So let us see then how can be possible. So the per unit system is developed keeping this aspect in mind. So in order to bring all the parameters in a normalized state where they are free from their units and they are just a numbers, free from the scaling of different countries, the system, we have tried to obtain a system which is known as the per unit system. The parameters of the transformer are referred to some base values and thus get scaled. So in order to get the per unit system, the most important term is the base value. So when we try to obtain the normalization of the parameter under the per unit system, then we require some base values that will get scaled. A common base value is adopted in view of the different ratings of the equipment. So the base value that will be adopted will be common for different rating of the equipment. So rating of the equipment can be in kVA, rating can be in MVA, or it can be volt ampere, anything. So whether it is in different rating of the machine, the base value will remain the same. Also, if you take the rating in ohms, mega ohms, etc., then also the base value will remain the same, and then we can be free the parameters from their unit. In case of individual equipments, its own nominal parameters are used as base value. So in a power system network, you will have different equipments connected to each other. Like you can have a generator, you can have transformer, transmission line, etc. So combination of these parameters together will form a power system network. However, when only an individual equipment is there, like a transformer alone, then the nominal parameters are used as the base value. If combination of the parameters are used, then any of the parameters of the network can be used as the base value, and over and which all the equipments will be normalized based on that particular base value that we will be adopting. Now let us see what is per unit system and how do we do that normalization. So suppose choose a voltage base and current base. So choose a voltage base and current base as nominal voltage and current on the primary side of the transformer and compute the S base and Z base. So first you need to choose what is the voltage base value, what is the current base value. Once you have chosen the base value of the voltage and the current, you can compute the base power and the impedance power. So remember, the base power is always the complex power, which is the product of voltage I conjugate. So this is the complex power, and we will see how the real power, reactive power depends on the base element. Now, once we have set the value of voltage and current base, we have obtained the power base and the impedance base. We can calculate the base power P, that is the reactive power and complex power all together as the product of the voltage base into current base. So you can see here we are independent of the unit. So power base, this real power generally has a unit of watt, the reactive power has a unit of volt ampere rating, and the complex power has a unit of volt ampere. So we will be not using this unit, rather we can go for a number. So power base, P base, Q base and S base will be equal to voltage base into current base. Similarly, the resistance, reactance and impedance base will be the base voltage by base current. So we will not treat the base value for the resistance, reactance or impedance in a different way. Rather, we will go for the division of voltage base by current base. We know from the Ohm's law, voltage by current will give you the impedance. So here we will be having resistance base, impedance base and reactance base and impedance base will be equal to voltage base by current base. Similarly, if you go for the conductance, susceptance and admittance base will be equal to current base by voltage base. Okay, so once we have obtained these parameters, we can get the value. So normally what is we are doing? So S base and voltage base are known for different plate details. So whenever we purchase any equipment, there will be a nameplate details given to us. These nameplate details will be given based on the power base and the voltage base, and other base values can be derived from them. Now, how do we define any per unit system? So per unit system in general will be defined as the ratio of the actual quantity by the base quantity. So whatever the parameters we are trying to obtain, we will obtain the per unit system as the ratio of the actual quantity by base quantity. For example, let us see now how do we calculate. So if we try to obtain the per unit value of the voltage, the actual value of the voltage in volt taken by the base value of the volt. So you can see here the numerator and denominator are of the same unit. So basically the per unit system is dimensionless. So we do not have any unit for the per unit system. Similarly, the current per unit can be calculated as the current actual value divided by the base value of the current. So we can write the current base as the power base by voltage base, right? So this will come to be the current divided by, so the S base by voltage base, because current base can be written as S base by voltage base. Now Z per unit, that is the impedance per unit, is the actual value of the impedance divided by the base value of the impedance. Now we can write the base value of the impedance as the multiplication of the voltage base by current base. So we can get the actual value of the impedance is multiplied with the current base by voltage base, or we can write the Z base as S base by voltage base square. So either we can write in this manner or we can write in this manner. That will be your Z base. So all the quantities whatever we have obtained here, the voltage, current and the impedance in per unit system, you can see that the per unit system is the actual quantity by the base quantity. So the base quantity we can take for the voltage base, current base and the impedance base. Once we have fixed the voltage base and the current base, impedance base we can calculate from the voltage base by current base. So impedance base will be equal to voltage base by current base, or in terms of the power if we write, this is equal to S base by voltage base square. So either we can use this quantity or we can use this quantity, we will get the same answer. So many times when more transformers are involved in a circuit, one is required to choose a common base value for all of them. So generally, as I said, in a power system, you will have a combination of different equipment, whether it is a transformer, generator, transmission line, synchronous motor, etc. In such scenario, it is not a good practice to take the base value for that particular equipment. Rather, a common base is chosen for the entire system. Now, since our topic of discussion is concentrate on the transformer, we will not talk about the power system. Rather, what we will be doing, we will take more transformer combination. We will not take generator or a synchronous motor and transmission line. So when more generators are connected, then you choose a common base value and convert the units of the given transformer into the per unit system based on the common base value that you have chosen. So these base value will be the voltage base and the current base. Parameters of all the machines are expressed on this common base. So once you have set the common base, all the parameters, whether it is a resistance, whether it is a inductance, capacitance or anything, any parameters, electrical parameters will be converted on that particular common base. The conversion of the base values naturally lead to change in the per unit value of their parameters. So suppose there is only one transformer and we have set the base values of the power, reactive power and the complex power. Suppose we have chosen it. Now if this transformer is a part of the other transformer TF2 and both the transformer are chosen for a particular common base, then these base values whatever is chosen for the base for this transformer will change depending upon the new base value that you have chosen for the entire system. So an impedance Z per unit old. So what is happening? You have a transformer 1 and you have a transformer 2 connected to each, or n number of transformers connected. Then in that case, you have chosen a particular base value of the voltage and base value of the current, which is common to the entire system of the transformer. Then in that case, the base value which was calculated earlier for a particular transformer, TF1, TF2 and TFM, will be now changed with respect to the common base that has been calculated for the entire system. So the impedance Z per unit old on the old base of S base old and voltage base old shall be modified on the new base. So the old system will be converted to the new system. So old system and new system will be related on the basis of this relationship. So where from this relationship is coming? So if you remember, the Z per unit is basically the actual value of the impedance by the base value, and the base value can be written as the power base by voltage base square. So we can know that the Z per unit can be written as Z into voltage base square divided by the complex base power. So in this equation can be used to convert the new parameter and the old parameter. So Z per, because the impedance Z per unit is proportional to the square of the voltage and inversely proportional to the base power. So Z per unit new is equal to Z per unit old multiplied with the old base square divided by the old base. Here you can take the base square new multiplied with the new by old base. So this relationship can be used to convert the impedance from a old base system to the new base system. So once we have a old base system given to us, depending upon the new base voltage and base current, we can obtain the new per unit system. So if all the equivalent circuit parameters are referred to the secondary side and per unit values of the new equivalent circuit parameters are computed with the secondary voltage and current as the base value, then there is no change in the per unit values. So what is happening? First, we try to obtain the base values with respect to the primary network, primary side of the transformer. Now, if we focus on the secondary side of the transformer and we referred all the parameters from the primary side to the secondary side of the transformer and try to obtain the per unit value on the new base values, then it will not matter a lot. There will be no change in the per unit values. So whether you are calculating the per unit values from the primary side of the transformer or the secondary side of the transformer, it doesn't matter. That is the advantage of the per unit system. Now, this equation Z per unit new with relationship with the old quantities is very important so that we can change from one base to the other. Now, we can obtain Z per unit equal to Z ohms by S base by voltage base square. So this relationship is just a derivation of the one which we have obtained earlier. So we will see like how per unit calculations are done when we have been given a base. So that problems we are going to solve in the tutorial part and see, but here we are going to discuss the lecture. So here what is happening actually, if you have a transformation ratio, generally we give a notation K. So we take A as the notation here for the transformation ratio K. Then we will be having Z per unit on the secondary side will be equal to Z ohms, that is the old base, S base by voltage base square. Okay, and these are basically the terms that we are using. That is the Z is the impedance seen from the primary side and Z dash is the impedance seen from the secondary side. So basically if you calculate the impedance Z per unit either in the secondary side of the transformer or from the primary side of the transformer, then it will be equal. So doesn't matter whether you are solving the problem from the secondary side of the transformer or the primary side of the transformer, the Z per unit system will remain the same. So what we have to do is that once the system is given to us, we will first set the voltage base and the current base, and then we will obtain the impedance base. So once voltage base and current base are given, obtain the impedance base, and whatever the other quantities we have to obtain, whether it is a real power, reactive power, complex power, we will try to obtain from these known quantities. So we will see how to solve these problems based on per unit system in the tutorial part. So the next topic that we are going to take is the parallel operation of transformers. So why do we do the parallel operation of transformers, and what is the need of parallel operation that we are going to discuss. So the parallel operation means two or more transformers are connected to the same supply bus bar on the primary side and to a common base bar or load on the secondary side. So as you know that if you have only one transformer, so if you have only one transformer, you are connecting this primary side of the transformer to a supply system, which is the input, and the secondary of the transformer you are connecting with the load. Now if you have more number of transformers, what you do? So this is only one transformer TF1. Now if you have more transformer TF2, TFN, then you connect the primary of all the transformers to the same supply. So primary of all the transformers will be connected to the same supply, and the secondary of all the transformers will be connected to the same load. Then that system of operation is known as parallel operation. So parallel operation will bring all the transformers under the same condition, where the primary circuit is connected to the source and secondary will be connected to the load. Now question being asked is that what is the reason of doing the parallel operation? Why we try to obtain the parallel operation? So the answer is, the first point, non-availability of the single large transformer to meet the total load requirement. So what happened is that for a particular area, suppose the power requirement is 100 MVA. So suppose the power requirement is 100 MVA and you have a transformer, for example, which is capable to give 25 MVA. This 25 MVA transformer TF1 is not sufficient to meet the requirement of 100 MVA. Then instead of bringing a 100 MVA new transformer, what we do, we multiply and try to obtain 4 single phase transformer which can meet a requirement of 100 MVA. So whenever there is a non-availability of the power requirement to meet a total demand of the system, we try to bring a new transformer and keep it in parallel with the existing transformer. So this is the first reason. Second, increase in power demand lead to augmentation of the capacity. So once the power demand increase for a particular substation, then what is happening is that instead of like changing the old system, we try to bring the new transformer and keep it in parallel. So these 2 points are basically keeping one into the another. Third point is improve reliability. So even what is reliability, how do we improve the reliability of the system? So that in order to understand that, let us, if there is a fault in one transformer or taken out of maintenance, the load can continue to be serviced. So suppose you have a 100 MVA requirement and for that you have a 100 MVA transformer. So this transformer is supplying the load, right? This is your load and this is your supply. So if there is a fault in this transformer, what will happen? The entire power system will be shut down, or if this transformer has to take out for the maintenance, then no transformer will be there to give the supply. However, if we have a condition where 25 MVA transformer, 4 transformers are there, and there is a fault or maintenance for one transformer, the remaining 3 transformers will be in operation. So continued supply will be there even when we are trying to get one transformer into maintenance. Fourth problem or the solution is transportation problem. So generally what is happening that in areas like a hilly areas, there it is very difficult to transport a big transformer. So in that case, a large transformer is not possible to carry. So it is easier to transport smaller ones to site and work them in parallel. So generally in hilly areas, it is not possible to transport a big transformer. Then in that case, small single phase transformer are carried and they are provided in parallel so that the power requirement of that particular area can be fulfilled. So these are few of the reasons of the parallel operation. Now let us understand the parallel operation from some internal aspect. So this is your transformer A and transformer B. So both are single phase transformer. This is one single phase, another single phase transformer. So we have to do the parallel operation of the transformer. Then you see that the primary of this transformer A and the secondary of the transformer B are connected in the same polarity to the supply voltage. So here you have the polarity of the supply. So this you can take the phase and this is the neutral point. This is your grounded. So phase will be connected to this end. Phase will be connected to this end. Neutral will be connected to this end and neutral will be connected to this end. So the polarity of the supply should be properly connected when you are doing the parallel operation. So this is on the primary side. Let us see on the secondary side. So you have a common load. Okay, this common load is there and the transformer 1 and 2 has to meet the requirement of this common load. Then the secondary of the transformer is connected to the load. The transformer 2 is also connected under the same polarity. So if I take this load to be something which is resistive, so if I take this as positive sign and negative sign, then the positive of this will be connected to the positive of this and the negative of this will be connected to negative of this. So again, the polarity of the network from the secondary side also should remain the same. Now what is happening if the transformer turns ratio are A1 and A2? Here you have a turns ratio A1, here you have turns ratio A2, means 1 is to A1, 1 is to A2. Okay, and ZA and ZB are the equivalent impedance referred to the secondary side. So in primary side we are not having an impedance and all the impedance are referred to the secondary side of the transformer. So ZA and ZB are basically the impedance that is referred to the secondary of the transformer. Then the load impedance, voltage and current are given by ZL, VL and IL. So here the ZL is basically the impedance of the load. Okay, VL is the load voltage and IL is the load current. IA and IB are the current supplied to the load by secondary of the transformer. So if you see, current IA and current IB are transferred from the transformer 1 and transformer 2 or A and B to meet the load requirement. So load requirement IL should be always equal to IA plus of IB. So IA plus IB, that is the current taking from the secondary of the transformer, should meet the load requirement of the common load. Okay, if it is IA minus IB, then obviously your load current will not be equal to IA minus IB. So the polarity on the secondary side of the transformer should be same, otherwise there will be a mistake. Now we have discussed the necessity of the parallel operation. Now we will discuss what is the condition for the parallel operation. So what conditions need to be met for the parallel operation of the transformer to share a common load? So load on the two transformer is common. How the condition to be met so that there is no problem in doing the parallel operation? So these 4 points are important to meet the condition for the parallel operation. The first point is voltage ratio must be the same. So voltage ratio must be the same. So secondary voltage, what is the meaning? The secondary voltage by primary voltage, which is the voltage ratio of the transformer A and the transformer B, should be equal. So the voltage ratio of the two transformer must be the same. Second point, the per unit impedance of each machine on its own base must be the same. So we know that the per unit value, so Z per unit for the base of A is equal to the voltage base by current, sorry, the actual value by the base value. So actual value by base value is basically the per unit impedance of a transformer. And now it is still that it is under the own base. So you have two transformer 1 and transformer 2. So both have its own base. So voltage base 1, current base 1. And transformer 2 will be having voltage base 2 and current base 2. So you obtain the per unit impedance of each transformer and it should be same. So per unit impedance calculated for each transformer on its own base should be the same. Third point, the polarity must be the same so that there is no circulating current between the transformers. So we have seen that the load current will be equal to the current given by first transformer and current given by the second transformer on the secondary side. So if the polarity is not same, obviously there will be a circulating current in the transformer which is not desirable. Fourth point, the phase sequence must be the same and no phase difference must exist between the voltage of the two transformers. So what is the meaning of phase sequence? So phase sequence should be same, means RYB. If you have a three-phase transformer, so the phase sequence is RYB, means this if you take R to be at 0 degree, then this will be at plus 120 Y and B will be at minus 120 degree, because this is the three-phase system. If you take RBY, then if you take R to be at 0, then B will be plus 120 and Y will be at minus 120, because all the three phases should be having 120 degree difference between each other. Okay, so the phase sequence must be the same and no phase difference should be there. So these four conditions has to be fulfilled in order to do the parallel operation of the transformer. So in terms of the equation, if we try to write, then the first equation will be IA plus IB is equal to IL. So transformer 1 secondary current plus transformer 2 secondary current should meet the load current of the transformer. So the polarity of the transformer should be such that it should not oppose each other. So if IA and IB are opposing each other, then it will not meet the load current and there will be a circulating current. Second, if we see the load voltage for the both transformer from the equation, writing the KVL equation on the secondary side of the transformer. So this is the KVL equation for transformer A, and if you write the KVL equation for transformer B, then V1 by A1 minus IAZA. So if you see the network here, so V1 by A1, that is A1 is basically the turns ratio. So this is the EMF E2 minus the drop in the impedance IAZ1 will give you the load voltage. Here V1 A2 minus IB ZB will give you the load voltage. So V1 A1 minus A1 Z1 will give you the load voltage VL. V1 A2 minus IB ZB will give you the load voltage VL. So you can write IB from the equation number 1. So IB can be written as IL minus IA into ZB. So VL you can get V1 by A2 IL minus IA into ZB. So solving equation number 2 and equation number 3. So if both the load voltage equation you have obtained for equation number 2 and equation number 3, if we solve, then we'll get the value of IA and IB. So we will get what is the secondary current flowing for the two transformer. So secondary current equation we will be getting for transformer 1. So this is for transformer 1 and this is for transformer 2. Now let us observe this equation carefully. What is happening in this equation? There are two components in this equation. So this is the component 1 and this is component 2. So basically there are two components in the current. The first component represent the transformer share of the load current. So if we observe the first component, this is the share of the current. If you remember the voltage division rule, so if you have two connected network, right? If you have two connected network, how do we represent the current? So this is your load current IL and this is your ZA and this is your ZB. So if we have IA here flowing, so IA will be ZV into the load current divided by the sum of the impedances ZA and ZB. So this equation, the first part, is basically coming from the voltage division rule. If you see the current division rule in the parallel network. The second component is the circulating current in the secondary winding. So if you see the second component for transformer 1 and transformer 2, it is basically the circulating current in the transformer. So the circulating current in the transformer can be written as EA minus EB, that is the EMF in the first transformer by minus second transformer divided by the sum of the impedance ZA plus ZB, so that EA can be written as V1 by A1 and EB can be written as V1 by A2. So this equation can be written. So obviously we don't want this circulating current. So circulating current should not be there in the transformer and the combination of IA and IB should be there to satisfy the load requirement. So undesirable effect of the circulating current. So if there is a circulating current, then obviously the copper loss will increase in the transformer with respect to the loss. Second point, overload will be there on one transformer and reduce the permissible load kVA. So suppose your two transformers are there, transformer 1 and transformer 2, and there is a circulating current. So both the transformer together has to satisfy some kVA demand. However, one transformer, if circulating current is there, then one transformer will be loaded more compared to the other, which is not permissible. So you should avoid the circulating current, and this can be avoided by proper connection or the polarity. Now the first point, let us see equal voltage ratio. So why equal voltage ratio is necessary for parallel operation? Let us see that. So to eliminate the circulating current, the voltage ratio must be identical. So if you see in this ratio, this has to be become 0, right? So this will become 0 only when you will have A1 is equal to A2. So once the A1 is equal to A2, then the second term, that is the circulating current, will become 0. So A1 is equal to A2 means the turns ratio is equal or the voltage ratio is equal. So under this condition, you will be having the current equation IA and IB. So from this equation, if we observe this equation carefully and divide both the equation 1 by 2, so if we divide equation number 1 by equation number 2, what we are getting? We are getting ZB by ZA, because ZA plus ZB plus ZA plus ZB will cancel out each other and IL and IL will cancel out each other. So it will be ZB by ZA. So what is happening? The transformer currents are inversely proportional to impedance. So the current is basically inversely proportional to the impedance of the system. So here the transformer current I is inversely proportional to the impedance of the that particular transformer. Thus, for efficient paralleling, the potential difference at full load across the internal impedance should be equal. So if you want to do the parallel operation, so the potential difference under the full load condition across the internal impedance, so ZA and ZB are the internal impedance of the network, should be equal. Third point, the condition ensures that the load sharing between the transformers are according to their rating. So once the potential difference across ZA and ZB will equal, then the load sharing will be good. So here the point to remember is that IA should be equal to A1 should be equal to A2, that is equal voltage ratio, will make the circulating current in this equation to be not vanish, and hence you will get the transformation will be good, and the current will be inversely proportional to the impedance of the system. So if per unit equivalent impedance are not equal, transformer will not share the load in proportion to their kVA rating. So if the per unit equivalent impedance, so when you have determined the per unit system of the impedance, okay, are not equal for the two transformers, then the load will not be shared, and as a result the overall rating of the transformer bank will be reduced. So you required IA ZA equal to IB ZB. So you basically required IA because the current is inversely proportional to the impedance. So IA ZA will be equal to IB ZB. So in order to get the parallel operation, this has to be desirable. The volt ampere of the transformer. So let us compare on the volt ampere or the complex power of the two transformer SA and SB, which is the volt ampere rating, is the product of the load voltage into the current of the first transformer, load voltage multiplied with the current on the second transformer. So if we do it, how do we get? So we have already obtained the equation of IA and IB. So we have obtained the equation of IA and IB. So if we substitute the equation IA and IB here, then we will be getting the value of SA and SB, that is the complex power of the two system. So we are getting an equation of SA and SB, that is the complex power of transformer 1 and transformer 2. Then if we divide the complex power SA by SB, we are getting ZB by ZA. So we can notice here from this equation is the volt ampere load on each transformer is inversely proportional to its impedance. So here also we are getting the impedance, the complex power is inversely proportional to the impedance of the network. So volt ampere load, so that is the impedance of the load on each transformer, is inversely proportional to its impedance. Hence, to share the load in proportion to the rating, the transformer should have the impedance which is inversely proportional to the rating. So obviously the impedance of the transformer ZA will have to be inversely proportional to SA. So this requirement is there for the parallel operation. So in the next class we will start our discussion on three-phase transformer, and here we have discussed the parallel operation of the transformer, and before that we have discussed a little bit on the per unit system and what is the importance of the per unit system and how to do the calculation. And the tutorial problem we will discuss little bit on the per unit system and then the parallel operation.